Well, welcome to our blab, Embracing the Defiant Hijackal Teen. And I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Beth
Beth.
Halbert, America's teenologist. Isn't that an exciting thing to think about? Imagine spending your whole life being helpful to people who are dealing with the joys of teenagers and
Woo!
with the teenagers themselves. So we're going to talk today about how do I turn being right into being connected with my teen, because we come to those places where we just want to say, do it my way, and here's why, and why don't you make some sense, and why don't you do all of this? So, Beth, what do you do with those moments?
Because I said so, right?
Yeah.
Because I said so, and I'm the parent, and I control your food. So please just do what I want. That is such a challenging question. And I know as a parent, sometimes you just want your children to do what you want them to do, when you want them to do it, now, and let them jump to and hop to. And one of the things that I find with a lot of my parents is that's not working.
What a surprise.
How about you? Are you finding that with many of your parents that just because I said so doesn't always work?
I have a whole different population. So I don't work with the children as often, or the teenagers. I'm helping the parents cope. I don't actually help with that. I work with the partners, exes, and coworkers of chronically difficult people. So these things come up, and that's why we have Hijackal in our title, because those are chronically difficult people, and teens often look like those often. But
Yes.
you work directly with the teens, and you have a special way of working. So yes, but as a mother of having survived the teenage years of 3 children plus my own, I understand exactly what you're talking about. And there are those moments for parents where you just simply want to say, because I said so.
I
And
get,
it's non-negotiable.
and frankly, sometimes that works. You know, on those rare occasions, it actually works, and especially if you have enough kudos built up. So if I am in a really good place with my child, then and it's an emergency situation, and I say, now, move, jump, let's go. And that's not my norm, and that's not my standard. Sometimes that can really work. It can work. But if my constant way of being is at a decibel of 10, and my constant way of being is because I said so, at some point in time, hopefully, and this is probably an interesting response to hear from me, but hopefully your child will rebel. Why would I say that? Why would we actually want our children to rebel? So the reason I say hopefully they will not be a compliant doormat to you for the rest of their life, because they'll be living with you when they're 40.
Yeah, individuation is a really important thing, and we're talking about that, aren't we? That
Yes.
they're saying, I'm different than you, I have different ideas, and I want you to recognize that I am not you. And they're endeavoring to establish an identity at those moments when they're digging their heels in. I was at an informal meeting this morning, and a woman said to me, what do I do? My child is 9 going on 3. And when he doesn't want to do something, he simply leans back in his chair, takes off his shoes, and says, I won't go, I won't do, I won't move. What do I do? Well, that's teenage behavior too.
Yes.
So what do we do to turn that around? Obviously we have to take a little more time than we want to
Yes.
have a conversation and to go through some steps that will be a strategy that will allow us to connect with the teen in a better way. What are those strategies?
So, if that happens all the time, then there's something going on within the relationship and within the child. And it's a little bit like having a blood vessel or a cut that's bleeding out, and just screaming at it. and just screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming. And there's something going on that is making a child be in complete non-collaboration, non-cooperation. They're either hungry, they're scared, they're being bullied, they're hurt, they are feeling maybe like they need to tell you something. Something is going on that's causing that completely irreverent, irradical behavior, especially with a teenager as well. You know, most of the time,
the things that cause the parent to say internally, "How dare you?"
Oh yeah, you didn't. Oh no, you didn't. Just say, "Shut up to my face." Oh no, you didn't. Completely, yeah. Or talk to the hand, or stop, or just refuse, just flat out refuse. And the main thing is, if the focus becomes on getting the compliant behavior, you're missing the bleeding.
Good point.
When they are in complete rebellion, that's when you need to take your shoes off, sit down, and go, whoa, 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 what is going on here? We are in total breakdown. You need me, I need you. What is happening? I'm listening. Let's go.
Yeah, and what percentage of parents have that presence of mind or are willing to take that time? Like the mom I was talking with this morning, single mom, 2 kids, full-time job, not a job. She's a real estate broker, so she owns her own firm, and everything is dependent on her income. And then the kid says, "No, I got my shoes off. I'm not going anywhere, and you can't make me." Yeah. And for a mom to hear, okay, something else is going on, and you need to take the time to get a little conversation going, like, this isn't working very well. Neither of us are getting where we want to go with this, and this doesn't feel good. To suggest that when she says, you know, I've got a meeting in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Very difficult. So how do you encourage a parent to invest those extra 6 minutes, for example?
Well, ideally, what I would suggest in that moment, you may have to pull one of your, because I said so, you may have to pull whatever you have to do in that moment just to do what you got to do. Then what I would suggest is you stop the presses at some point that evening. You know, you pull up, you go to preventative, proactive. What in the world happened this morning? I am so sorry I had to turn into a crazy lunatic to get you in the car. I didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want us to lose our house. I love you dearly, and I hate being that kind of mom.
Perfect.
What happened?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm willing to clean it up. And then you give the child the opportunity to clean it up. And what a lot of children say to me is, I don't even know why. I'm not sure why I did that.
That was just what I was going to ask. I don't think any of us respond well to a why question. Yes. You know, there's a point when you ask someone why. Like, I work with a lot of couples, and when somebody is annoyed, or they're in some anxiety, or they're in full-blown rage, and they turn to you and they say, "Why did you do that?"
Yeah.
It pushes us back to that 3-year-old child that you like to talk about, who goes, I don't know. And you just kind of go blank, you know, because you don't know your motivations, and you completely get lost in that moment. So why questions are pretty dangerous ones, I find.
I completely concur. Or the why brings up all sorts of defensiveness, or it brings up a complete attack on the reverse. So
it also brings up some lying, because if I feel I have to make up a reason, I will do that in order to keep the giants that I need to help me survive happy.
You bet.
It may be a complete false front, and that's not useful either.
Yes, a little bit like having chocolate all around your mouth and saying, "Did you eat chocolate?" And the child may think, well, if they're stupid enough not to know, then I might be smart enough to pull this off. No, Just because I have chocolate all over my mouth? No, didn't. What chocolate? So
Right.
yeah, if we ask a question that we know the answer to, we're going to get a rebellious response. If we ask a why question, we're going to get a rebellious response. So when you do have that sit down and that preventative, proactive discussion, what you want to do is get really loving and curious. Really
Okay.
loving and curious. Have no agenda, no attachment, easier said than done, ha ha ha. Yet at the same time, to the best of your ability, coming in with, talk to me, sweetheart. Talk to me. I really got that you were in complete pain this morning, but I'm so sorry I didn't have time to do it. Now, when they're a teenager and they put their foot down, you may not be able to put because I said so. You may not have big enough guns to get them in the car, and you might have to put your meeting off.
Right. And, and another solution that I said to this person, because she needed to get him to school. And I said, have you ever taken him to school with no shoes?
Yes. Yes.
Right. And she said, no. And she said, well, how would I get him in the car with or without shoes?
Exactly.
Right? I said, how big is he?
Exactly.
Because there are times when we do have to take control. And especially in a case of being a single parent, you don't have any backup plan. There's nobody to come along and say, no, you need to do that. And there's two of us now saying you need to do that, or someone to leave the child with. There's no other option. You have to do it. So you mentioned if you have big enough guns, what if you don't? I mean, if you have to put the meeting off, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a moment, but isn't that giving a lot of power to a teenager if you have to put off your meeting?
Well, they already have a lot of power. It's not giving them a lot of power. They've taken the power. You are already in a space where you've used all your force. You've used all your, because I've said so, you've used up all your bank account. And at this point, if you don't have the tools to get on the same side of the table with your child, you're at war. And your child usually is bigger, stronger, has more energy, and less to lose. And so they'll just fight you. Go ahead.
I just want to ask about less to lose. Do you really think they have less to lose? Well, because they don't have anywhere to go, and they don't have any money, and they don't have a lot of things that would be a real loss where they couldn't start out. So aren't they really saying it's a battle of wills here and I want to win, but they do have something to lose?
How many parents are really willing and can legally do it, kick their 9-year-old to the curb?
Well, no, they can't, but the child does have something to lose, because if the child is losing my respect or losing my willingness to talk to them and they actually need me, they do have something to lose. And doesn't that become a negotiating piece in there? Not that you're going to negotiate it in words, but that you're going to say some things that allow the child to remember how this all works in the best way possible.
Yes, and the key to that is if they feel like there's a possibility to win. If there's, no matter what I do, you're gonna ground me, and I'm gonna be grounded for life. No matter what I do, you're not gonna listen to me. You're always right. You're the mom. You're always right. No matter what I do, no matter what I do. If they get to a place where you're in the because I said so state, then they've already lost. So now they might as well make your life a miserable experience as well. However,
okay,
go ahead.
No, carry on with your however.
However, if I'm able to get them on the same side of the table, then we can come up with a win-win. I had this one teenage child who had a mother that was a medical doctor, and the mother grounded the child by taking his cell phone. Now, this child was about 2 feet, 3 feet taller than the mom, 14 years old. and decided to take the mom's cell phone. So, you know, when we do this control game and this threat game, and this the challenges can be, if at some point the tables turn, then you have to have relationship more than fear.
Yeah, and if these things are really ringing true for you and you want to make sure that you get more information from Dr. Beth, go to her website at drbeth.com, because she just understands this, as you can tell, and has great strategies and skills for you. What I was going to say is, let me just jump in on the fact that this need to win is something that teenagers go through, and it ameliorates later on if things are done in a healthy way. And where that relates to my work is the Hijackal's side of embracing the Defiant Hijackal teen, because Hijackals are people who have, through their early life, and some things that happened to them, traumatic or difficult or whatever, found that they needed to protect themselves incredibly and armor themselves and become both defensive and offensive. And one of the hallmarks of an adult hijackal is the absolute need to win in every moment. So this is how it relates to what's going on in the teenage. They try it on and they find out, do I need this or not? Is this the only way that I can make it in life or not?
Yes.
And so it's healthy at that point, and we do have to, and I agree with you so much, we have to take the time. I raised 3 kids by myself, went through 3 teenagers, and they were all different, but they had some similarities, and one of them was every one of them took time. Time that if I looked at my schedule, I did not want to have, I didn't have, but I had to find and give.
Right.
And when we get with an adult who has hijackal behaviors, and in my books, Escaping the Hijackal Trap, the definitive guide to dealing with chronically difficult people, I talk about a hijackal and define it this way: a person, and this includes teenagers, a person who hijacks a relationship for their own purpose while scavenging the relationship for power, status, and control.
Yes.
So there's a stage that you're talking about that we have an opportunity to see this individuation taking place in what looks like a hijackal situation. However, if we walk with the child through the teenage years and we help them learn to be comfortable with themselves and have skills and become interactive and collaborative and cooperative, then we extinguish the need for those behaviors as an adult.
Right.
But if we don't, we just create a bulldozer sometimes that is going to attack life in that way, that I have to win in all circumstances in order to have a shred of self-esteem.
And sometimes the parents turn into those hijackals in relation.
But sometimes they already were a hijackal, and that's what's causing the exacerbation of this hijackal behavior.
So Dr. Shaler, what would you do if you were either the teenager dealing with a hijackal parent or a parent co-parenting with this hijackal?
Oh, that's such a good question, Dr. Beth, because I deal with this all the time. As I said, the focus of my work is with the partners, the exes, and the co-workers of chronically difficult people. So if a child has to deal with a hijackal parent, one of the great disappointments in a child's life is realizing that there is a diminishing respect level for the parent. And how that shows up is usually expressed or internally unexpressed anger in a big way. And unfortunately, we can't read that, but what she's showing you is my website, which is at forrelationshiphelp.com. So if you want to know more about what I'm up to, go to forrelationshiphelp.com. So what happens is that a child notices that there's unreasonable behavior on the part of one parent, usually one parent, and usually the other parent is somewhat passive. And that's how the two got together. So we have one that's scavenging for power, status, and control, and the other one whom they've carefully chosen. In fact, you could consider preyed upon, carefully chosen, because they will then always have the status and power and control. So the teenager is observing. They've been observing all the time before they had language, the dynamic between the parents. You know, I used to give parenting classes, and people were always horrified when I said this, Dr. Beth. I would say, I really hope you enjoyed the 3 minutes of conception, because for the rest of your life, you are going to be a model of how to be a man, how to be a woman, you know, whatever constellation your family is, and how to get along together in a relationship.
Yes.
And that's your job from now on. You are constantly teaching by example. So you take these children who have been in a nonverbal environment. You know, they don't have language that has really any meaning until they go to school. And until the prefrontal lobe brain development kicks in, they don't even have rational linear thought. They're really running on what we told them. You know, they're not having that kind of this causes this, and that'll happen to me if, you know, that kind of thinking. So here they are, these wonderful little beings going, oh, is that how you do it? Oh, is that what you do when that happens? You know, they're just taking it all in through their senses.
Yes.
And feeling it. And so when they're in a hijackal home, they're already in confusion. They're already concerned. And at that time when they're quite egocentric, and I don't mean that in a sense of having a strong ego, I mean in the sense that I cause everything that happens around me. And I'll give you an example of that. I was working with a family who had recently divorced, and I had the 2 little girls in my office, and the 5-year-old, I said, you know, do you know why Daddy doesn't live with you anymore? Here's the egocentricity of a 5-year-old.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yes, because I left my bike behind my daddy's car.
I knew that was coming. Yes. Yes. So
that's what I mean by that egocentricity. Yeah. So you input all this, the child is watching, they're listening to every tone of voice, every posture, every facial expression, and they're figuring it out. How do I keep the giants happy so that I will survive? I need them. You know, I'm a blob over here. I don't have locomotion. I can't get away. I can't find my own food. I got to keep the giants happy. So they're learning that. Then when they get to the teen years and they're starting to individuate, and they say, well, I don't want to be like the hijackal, and I don't want to be like the passive one, and I'm losing respect on both fronts. At least the passive one comforts me. So I'm drawn to the one that's more passive, but I'm scared of this and I don't want to be like that. But when I can't get my own way, I have non-verbally learned to be a hijackal.
Right.
So,
right.
You know, when kids, you know, I work, I offer classes that are sanctioned by the Superior Court on high conflict co-parenting, or hijackal co-parenting, as I call it. And what a difficult situation when children have to go between 2 homes, and neither one of them, you know, is giving them what they most need, which is a cohesive way of looking at the world. They're giving 2 very polarized ways of looking at the world. With one parent who's non-hijackal, they are safer and more comfortable, but they feel comfortable to act out. And with the hijackal, they may act out, but they are also in this very strange dance to deal with behavior they don't respect. So it's very difficult. So when people come to me, they're coming because they have to deal with the fallout of hijackal behavior.
Yes.
And so it's not in the same vein that they come to you and say, my teenager is behaving like a hijackal. That teenager is going through, hopefully, a stage. But I'm sure that you take a lot of care to find out, was there what I would call, because I coined the term hijackal, trademarked the term hijackal, but hijackal behavior that's been in evidence and informing the child ever since it drew breath.
Right.
So it's not just, is this acting out behavior of being a teen, but is this behavior that was carefully learned, not just a response to what's going on in the moment, right?
So I get exactly where you're coming from. And there are definitely like the characterological patterns and the traits and this is how someone shows up 99.9% of the time. What I am seeing sometimes in the parent-child relationship is the parent comes in and out of these multiple states. Like sometimes I'm in a little 3-year-old, I'm hiding under the covers and I just want to quit. I'm a single parent mom. I've had it. I'm overwhelmed. I'm sick of life. I'm sick of you.
I've been there.
Yes. And I'm done. Been there too. And then there's also the part of us that is like, okay, I got this. Today is another day. I'm going to win. I'm going to do this. And you have 45 things on your checklist and you're logical, you're rational, and your child doesn't necessarily help to when you say this 7-year-old task list. I want you to jump. I want you to do it now. I want you to go here. And they didn't have the same agenda when they woke up. So that
So
might
true.
have triggered them into being a hijackal. So I actually see that the 7-year-old personality style can trigger someone into becoming either a doormat, compliant doormat, or trigger them into being a completely hijackal or a teenager, inner teenager. If I'm in my inner teen, that's kind of playful and fun and, hey, let's have a good time today, that can actually trigger compliance because little ones want to follow the teenagers.
Makes sense.
So who and how I am in the day can make a difference to that hijackal part of ourselves, and who I'm being to my partner can turn them into a rebellious teenager or can turn them into a a compliant doormat.
Right.
So,
right.
Go ahead.
We just have this incredible responsibility that's coming to light in this conversation about parenting.
Yes.
Like, it is so important. I give a free webinar and then a 7-week program on claiming your 7 inalienable rights.
Love it.
And we have these 7 rights that are instilled in us from the pre-birth environment until we're 18 or so. And at different stages of our growth, we look at everybody, Piaget, Erikson, Jung, everybody, but there are these stages, and in everybody's writing, they sound a little different, but they're there. And if we don't have healthy interaction at these various stages of growth, including our brain growth, but our personal growth too, then we're not going to have a healthy amount of that right. We'll have an excess or a deficiency. And when we have grown up, gotten bigger, not necessarily become a grown-up, but we have become adult, which to me is just a difference of size. Go baby, toddler, school, high school, college, adult, just means you got bigger, lived a little longer. Yeah, but to become a grown-up, we have to go back and do a little assessment of, do I actually have these rights? Have I been given them? Do I have an excess? Do I have a deficiency? And how can I go back and reclaim them? And that's the work that I do. But what we're doing while we're dealing with a teenager is we're actually taking them through that stuff, living that stuff through them. And many of us don't have any idea of what's happening within them.
Yes.
So they don't come with that manual that everybody talks about. But you know what? There are a lot of great books out there that can help you. And there are a lot of people like Dr. Beth and I who can say, hey, here's a few things. You can take a course. You can get insights. I often say to people, well, a bit of a story, but a long time ago when I was single, I'd go to this particular bar where it's all professionals just on Friday afternoons. And that was my big deal. After work, I got to have it, grown-up time. And I would meet a man and he would say, what do you do? And I'd say, well, I'm trained as a psychologist. And he'd go, oh, no, not on Friday afternoon. I don't want any of that, right? So I thought I need a new way to introduce myself. So the next time
I
Pardon?
have to pay for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So to stop that from happening, I did this the next time. And the person said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Can I ask you a question first?" And this might help anybody who's not used to going and getting emotional or psychological help. I said, "What do you do when your car breaks down?" And the fellow said, "Well, I take it to the shop." And I said, "Well, you don't fix it yourself?" He said, "No." I said, "Why don't you fix it yourself?" He said, "Well, I'm an attorney, and that's what I do." I said, "So you take it to the guy who spent their whole life learning how to fix your BMW?" "Yeah." "Okay, ask me again what I do." So he asked me, and I said, "I'm a life mechanic."
I love it. I love it.
Learn that people like Dr. Beth and I are there to teach you the things that and help you have insights and connect dots and things that because of your upbringing or your expertise or what you're up to in the world, you just haven't met that information yet. You haven't had those thoughts, and we're here to help you have them.
Yes. And I also have a workshop this coming Monday. I'm going to have an Ask Dr. Beth free webinar for anyone to listen to a bunch of questions that parents asked me on what would you do, Dr. Beth, if you have this child that, how do I keep them off drugs? What do I do when they completely just say flat out no? So coming up this coming Monday night at 7 o'clock. And if you go to drbeth.com, you can download my book at no charge and get signed up for this upcoming webinar. And what I would love to have you and I do, Dr. Shaler, as we're going through this process, is find some ways where what you would do in a particular situation, and then some ways of how I might handle it in a particular situation, and have the listeners ask us some questions so that they have some choices. Sometimes I may be a little bit out there in one way, and you may be a little bit creative and out there in another way. And it doesn't always work for every parent with every child. There's always, my child is different.
Yes, that's so true. And will there be a replay of that so that if people listen to this long after you've done it, they can go to your website and still listen to it?
I hope so. Yes, that is.
All right, the plan is, yes. Okay.
Yes, if you sign up, get registered, I will make sure everybody gets a copy of that.
Okay, great. So if you're listening to this long after we have created it, please know that there are resources for you both at Dr. Beth's website at drbeth.com and at my website at forrelationshiphelp.com. And we'd love to have you interact. We have newsletters. You can sign up and stay in relationship with us, and you'll know what we're up to and what's available there for you. And this lab is every week, so you could put it on your calendar at 11 o'clock on Thursday mornings, because we need to be embracing the Defiant Hijackal teen, the one within us and the one that we gave birth to or we have the care of.
Yes.
So thanks so much, Dr. Beth, for this great conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Shaler. So fun and such enlightening comments. Appreciate your wisdom and all that you give.
Well, and yours. And I think we have a lovely balance here. So until next Thursday, join us then. And be sure to subscribe right into this blog so you will get a notice for sure. Talk soon.
Bye. Don't forget to embrace defiance.
I will work at that. Bye-bye.